Canada voted. We have a minority Liberal government with a new leader who is obviously a very strong candidate.
The crazy part was the Polyev thing. They screwed that guy.
Mark Carney, he's our prime minister. I will support what they do because I hope it's better for our country.
If you're going to talk about the best politicians of our lifetime, Justin Trudeau was by far the best politician of our time.
For 95% of the cases, the only way you sell is be the lowest price option. Because you're going to sit on the market at a price that's not going to get it done. Some people would look at that and go like, yeah, the realtor's just giving you a low price to get the sale done quickly. It's like, I'm telling you what it actually, so that's why I'm telling you.
You are doing that though. Don't lie.
That's a fair point. I am doing that, but
that.
not in a malicious way, in like a trying to help you way.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Oh, yeah.
Steve, you know what day it is today?
I do. I forgot about this until right now, until you did that.
Darth Vader. It is May the 4th be with you. It is Star Wars Day. Happy Sunday, happy Monday, happy Tuesday, happy whatever day you're listening to the podcast. Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show. This is our post-election show where I'm sure Steve will have a few things he'd like to talk about. But before we get to Angry Steve, if you've been showing up here every single week, our short-term goal at least is to get to 7,000 subscribers. We are not too far away, and the channel has been growing recently, but I realize we haven't really asked you guys to subscribe. So if you haven't already, we would really, really appreciate it. But it is a new day, a new hope. I'm trying to get as many Star Wars references as I can in here.
I think it's more like, what was the third episode?
Return of the you can tell. I don't know. I'm gonna butcher this.
Something Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the
whatever
Sith.
It is.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're probably closer to the Jedi has not yet returned.
All right. Well, listen. Canada voted, and what they voted on is they gave us exactly what we had before. We have a minority Liberal government with a new leader who is obviously a very strong candidate. And congratulations to Mark Carney. He's our prime minister. I will support what they do because I hope it's better for our country. I'm not going to sit here and be sour. How do you feel about it? I know we were texting a little bit on election night, and you had some choice words. How's Steve feeling, a few days after the hangover? How are we feeling?
I think I'm pretty proud of Toronto for the most part.
What about Quebec? Don't blame Toronto this time. You can blame Quebec.
No, and blame the cities everywhere. The downtown core specifically. Yeah. Like my riding ended up going within like 1,000 votes, I want to say, of one way or the other. And it was a landslide just in November. It was 9-2 votes or something like that back in November. And it was barely by 1,000 votes this time. So
who won?
Basically 50-50.
Did Conservative win in your riding?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was looking around like all of kind of Surrey, Delta, that kind of, like every riding was within a fraction, like less than 1,000 votes every single time. So it was kind of crazy.
One of the things I was thinking about is from last week's episode with Doug, one of the first things he said was the financial markets would prefer a majority government either direction. Mm-hmm. And we got the exact opposite of that. So like we just had this big vote. It ended up obviously being very, very close at the end of the day, with the cities pushing it to the Liberal direction. NDP, as you said would happen, Steve, got wiped.
No, what happened to the NDP is
they all became Liberals.
Voters, their own voters don't believe enough in their own platform that they abandon ship because they're scared, right? So I actually find that to be the most telling thing. Like everything was climate change, everything was this, everything was that, and one scary guy gets in down south and everybody goes, I don't even believe in Jagmeet anymore. By the way, I called it. Jagmeet came in third in his riding, not even second. The crazy part was the Polyev thing. Did you see the ballot thing?
There was 91 names or something.
They screwed that guy. I don't know how that happened, but that guy got screwed. 91 names. The thing is like this long.
I know.
And then So what happened is because because the physical paper was so big, the CBC covered this. They got special permission to start counting them early. And so how do you think the day before the election that story came out? Because they were counting them, and then you think all the scrutineers can keep their mouth shut? No chance, man.
Wait, you think they were counting them the day before the election?
No, they were counting them 2 days before the election.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah,
the weekend before, because physically you had to count 40,000 or something of these long, crazy papers with 91 names on them. They couldn't possibly do it that night. So they got special permission to say, listen, this is an extreme circumstance. But then 2 days before the election or whatever it was, the story came out that Poilievre's probably not going to win his own riding, right? So then it was like, oh, yeah, loose lips, I guess, right? So I don't know. I do have some thoughts. I want your thoughts, and then I want to give my thoughts.
My thoughts are that although in this specific election, I was maybe leaning the other direction, and I've voted both Liberal and Conservative in my life. And interestingly enough, because it's like our industry, real estate tends to lean conservative, at least from the people I've talked to. Not everybody, but the people people in Toronto, people that I talk to. The internet leans conservative, but the internet's not a real place in real life, as we've learned, right? It's just not. Because if you looked at any of the polls that we ran, everyone said they were voting. Even I ran a poll on my own channel. And I never talk about politics on my channel. I never go any direction. I don't do any of that. And I asked people, who do you think is most likely to win? And there was like 800 votes. And it was like 60% conservative. And I figure my viewers are from Toronto, right? So the way that I look at it now is I do believe Carney was a very strong candidate. And I think when we look at this now, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's like, you think 70% Trump, 30% Carney is why they won? How much credit would you give Carney?
I don't give Carney any credit.
He's got to have some, though.
No, I think it's the Liberal Party machine.
Okay.
The Liberal Party machine kept Justin Trudeau. If you're going to talk about the best politicians of our lifetime, Stephen Harper was pretty good. I'm talking politician. I'm not talking politics. I'm not talking policy. I'm talking politician. Justin Trudeau was by far the best politician of our time, because that guy got reelected many times and just played the cards perfectly the entire time, and then even set up for the future. So his politicking was great, right? Like he's looking pretty good in the Game of Thrones right now, if you know what I mean. Like his side won. Like
4 months ago, the polls were saying that it's not even going to be close. This was when JT was still in office. I know trade war, obviously the biggest reason why people maybe changed their votes. But 4 months ago, was there people in the cities you think that were going to vote conservative or just wanted to change in their own party? Like,
no, they just hated Justin Trudeau.
They just hated Trudeau. So you think anybody other than him, if Freeland ran for the Liberals, you think they would have won that election?
I mean, I guess what I think doesn't really matter. Freeland won her own riding by like the biggest majority of anybody.
Right.
So I don't know how anybody votes for that twit. Like she's a twit. I don't get it, man. Well, she's got some weird shit. Anyway, I shouldn't name call. I do have some points. So I find it very sad that people vote emotionally over top of policy. I've probably been guilty of it myself in the past. But I find it very sad. I also find that it's sad that they pick the person, particularly the person that they like, rather than the policy.
Yep.
And nobody does any research into what that person believes or their past or anything. They just listen to the news and that's that. So my gut tells me that Carney's not going to be who everybody thinks he is. My gut tells me that he is not this nice, wonderful businessman that everybody thinks he is. I do think that he is very much a very connected elitist in the world. I think he's the wolf in grandma's clothing in Little Red Riding Hood. The question is Trump Little Red Riding Hood, or are the Canadian people Little Red Riding Hood? I think that. I think that the policies that he has announced are not going to be what he enacts. because I don't believe he believes in those policies. I don't believe he believes in making Canada an energy superpower. I believe he believes in net zero. For instance, I read through the new spending report that they put out, and there's no new money for pipelines. There's lots of money for carbon capture. So we're going to increase our energy by not increasing our energy, apparently. My hopes are that, though, it is good for Canada. So my hopes are that, like, if we're going to have a top of the food chain elitist, that I hope he's a gangster in that world for the benefit of Canadians. I'm worried because I think he's a post-nationalist. He's the global elite guy. I didn't see anything to do with pipelines. I didn't see anything to do with increasing any sort of actually getting energy going in this country. I didn't see him run on anything. I think he just talked about it. And then I am shocked, and this is where I think we will go in the future. I am shocked that Chrystia Freeland resigned over a $42 billion deficit that ended up being a $60 billion deficit because the capital gain tax never came in. And then we, as a country, elect a guy that says, cool, let's double that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So that to me is
but I think that was a secondary third issue for most voters, right or wrong. All people were focused on is Carney is going to be the better person to negotiate with Trump to save Canadian jobs and make a deal with the deal maker.
We elected the guy that Trump loves. He just said it yesterday on the news. Trump thinks he's great. Here's
I think he called him a nice gentleman, I think were the words he used, or something along those lines.
But no, I mean, I think what the deal is when you know someone else is coming into the room that's just as big a gangster as you are. I mean, you don't diss them, right? When the two gang leaders are meeting, you don't make him look bad. He obviously didn't respect the rest of everybody else. So I find that, I found that to be a little crazy. I will say somewhere on this podcast, maybe a year and a half ago, I did say, and I've said this to my wife for the last year, I said, there's too much time between now, which was a year and a half ago, and the election. Something will happen. Poilievre peaked too early. Like myself, Tom Storey, Poilievre peaked.
Like Steve in high school. Yeah. Well, I was talking to Daryl Frankfurt about this. This was on election day. I called into his show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I called in, and even Daryl, who's been very, very vocal and clear about the fact that he is voting conservative and the Liberals need to be gone. He said to me that he lost faith in Poilievre being the guy in the last month. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you've supported this side the entire time. Like, what made you lose faith? And one of the things you thought, like, because Parliament was shut down, Poilievre didn't have the political theater that he was so good at. Yeah. All those clips and the stuff that went mini viral, like, that was great for him, right? Because he looks like the smart guy making fun of the, quote unquote dumb people. So he didn't have that. And then Daryl had mentioned, I never even really thought about this, is like Poilievre went from being exactly who he was to getting the lead in the polls and then becoming a politician like everybody else. And just kind of buttoning it up, not going back to the way he was, and just kind of staying quiet. And really, at the end of the day, sure, he went on a few podcasts to try to show people who he was.
Yeah.
And, listen, they're podcasts with bigger viewership than us, but they're not the big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not Nardwuar, Steve.
I don't know. I definitely think he lost it. I think he sloganed too much. He was even sloganing in his, what do they call it, concession speech or whatever that is.
Did he?
Like it was even sloganing there. So I was like, I think you kind of lost it. I do agree. Like, this is how the politics was played perfectly. Justin Trudeau played Jagmeet exactly how he wanted to. Jagmeet folded. Jagmeet would be the leader of the opposition for 4 years if he called an election last fall. He didn't. And now the current government's going to do whatever they want because nobody's going to stand up to them. You're right. not being in Parliament was a problem. Jagmeet got his pension, so he's happy and unemployed. And we are just, I think we're going to be in a worse place. I will make a prediction. I think that going forward, what's going to happen is we're going to somehow in 2 years from now end up in another election. I think it will not be enough time for the terrible spending policies under Carney to really set into how bad those policies are. And then I think we're going to end up with a majority Liberal government in 2 years.
Oh.
And then I think we're absolutely screwed for the next 4 after that. So
because
I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but
right.
And I hope that I
can you give me a positive thought on like what do you think could go right here? There's lots of people that listen to the like literally Canada was 50-50 on the vote almost. So there's half the people that voted for Liberals and half that didn't that are watching this.
What could go right is I think that maybe Carney changes his policies. Maybe. I don't think that's going to happen. What could go right is he strikes a very good deal with Trump because I think he's a shrewder person than Trump. He doesn't appear to be, but I believe he is much, I don't want to say worse because I don't think that's necessarily, I don't know him. But I think he's much shrewder than Trump, and I think he's got more connections than Trump. So in that respect, maybe it's good to have the best head of the cartel at your cartel. That may be the realities of it. Maybe he's actually changed his tune and realizes now that he was wrong about all his craziness with keeping oil in the ground. I don't believe that to be true. We'll find out, because we'll find out if he proposes changes to actually removing the carbon taxes just as opposed to setting it to zero.
Right.
I think what will happen is we're going to limp this along. We're going to end up with a majority government because he's going to look pretty good for the next 2 years, and there's not going to be a lot of pushback in the House. And then as soon as he gets a majority government, which I believe he will in a couple of years.
Because what did it end at? How many seats are they away from majority? 4 or 5? This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Realty Ninja. Hey, real estate agents, I bet you didn't get into the real estate industry to try to become a web developer. Realty Ninja will help you build a beautiful website for your business without becoming all techie, because me and Steve are certainly not techie. They'll set up your entire site for you, they'll migrate the content from your current site, and they'll take care of all the back end, switching the domains, all the things that you don't want to do, they'll take care of for you. Their team of in-house designers will make your new site match your current brand and help you stand out from your competitors. Best of all, Realty Ninja offers a free unlimited trial that lets you build out your website, and they do not charge you until you're ready to launch. That's right, they're so confident in their product and that you're gonna love the website that you build with them. They will not charge you until it's ready to launch. They don't even take your credit card details. Listeners of the Tom Storey Show will not only get an unlimited trial before you launch, but if you go to realtyninja.com/Tom, you will get 20% off your first year after you launch. A beautiful, functional, and professional website is absolutely a must in today's real estate landscape, and Realty Ninja delivers. So go to realtyninja.com/Tom for 20% off your first year. That's realtyninja.com/Tom. And now back to the podcast.
What was 3 or 4, but whatever it is doesn't matter, because the average minority government in Canada only lasts, I think, 18 months.
Oh, okay.
So, but, and I don't think the NDP has somebody strong enough, or I don't think the Bloc is willing to really do a full, what do they call it? Supply and confidence agreement like they did last time. So I think you're going to wait until Poilievre finds a seat again, which will probably be a year. And
how does that work? Does somebody else on the Conservatives just give him a seat? Is that what happens?
No. So what happens, from my understanding, is so we still don't get Parliament, by the way, for another month for some freaking reason. So we're now more than 6 months out away of not having a government in Canada.
Absolutely crazy.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jagmeet.
Well, hey, it worked out. It worked out for Justin.
It worked out for them. Correct. They are very good politicians screwing the country. I get it. So what happens is then somebody at some point will step down, and then the prime minister gets to pick when that election is And I think it has to be no later than 6 months. So let's say, for instance, we come back in May, somebody doesn't step down till September. We're not even, Poilievre's not getting back in the door until February. So it's going to be a long go for him. And then can he even hold on? I think they should leave him in the leadership position, just because I think his strength, as I think we've all found, is the leader of the opposition, not necessarily going to be the best prime minister. So I want to see him there because I think there's a whole lot of things that are going to have to be said about the policies that are coming. So I'm not super positive about it. Like I'm super positive about anything in my life. But I just got to be hopeful. I agree with what you say. Like, this is who we got now. Let's hope to hell he's not lying to us, and let's hope to hell he can strike a good deal. I think this is all going to go away. We're not even going to be talking about the trade war in 3 months, and we're going to end up with a net zero crazy guy. That's where I think we're going to go.
So at the end of the day here, we have a liberal minority, which we had previously. What did NDP end up with? 5 seats?
7.
So, did they really? They got 7? Okay. I didn't see like the final tallies and some of the stuff. So, okay. So if you combine the liberals with the NDPs that are left, it gets to pushing votes through, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Like, so the NDP said they're going, well, the NDP is not going to do anything because they're small fry right now. The Bloc came out and said they're going to support this government for 1 year.
Oh, the Bloc. Okay. So they already got the Bloc. So then it's done.
I mean, they're not going to bring it down in 2 months. In other words, they're not going to go through all this all again. They're just going to say, yeah, okay, I mean, they may not pass any massive laws, but they're not going to bring them down. And then the Conservatives are kind of got the head cut off the snake right now. So, it's going to be fun times. What I want to do, Tom, is I want to close the book on politics because that's not why people are here. And we have been even hijacked for the last 6 months about politics. And I don't want to do it anymore. I want to talk about real estate because under the Liberal government, for darn sure, those prices are going to go up within the next few years.
So it is actually a good point that if you own assets in Canada, the extra spending or the deficit growing may actually increase the value of your asset.
Sure is.
Okay, we will end politics, but I just want to reiterate 3 things that were said by last week's guest, because now that we have the perspective we have today and we know where we are at with our government, I think this is even more interesting. Number 1, we had asked Doug Porter, Doug, after the election, does sales volume get better? Like, do more homes sell? Do more people buy condos? Do more buyers that are sitting on the sidelines actually get up and go, you know what? Election's done. I'm happy. Let's move on. Let's go buy something. And his thought was 80% of the reason why they're not moving is trade war and 20% is election. So if there's any sellers listening to this, and because I have had my own clients ask me this, so many people, like, once the election's done, are things going to get better? I'm like, I'm not really sure. I'll ask Doug. And he kind of said, it will get 20% better, but 80% is still leaning towards the Carn dog negotiating for us on the trade war. So hopefully that all goes well. The second thing was interest rates, and what Doug's. So now, okay, election's done. Interest rates are roughly at 4%. He thinks Bank of Canada is going to 2% overnight rate by the end of this year, which I think that means that with where prime would get to, that variable would be in the almost mid 3s, mid to kind of 3.7, I guess is where it would fall. And then the fix probably stays in the 3.8 to 4. But that's kind of where the dust settles here. And then when we do negotiate and this trade war ends, and maybe that's 30 days from now, maybe that's 3 years from now, I don't know. What else are we going to talk? What should we focus on here in Canada? And it was productivity and housing. And so that's my way of tying a bow on this and moving on, because you're right. We've talked about this for a lot, and now we have other things to talk about. I think though, Alberta's pretty pissed right now. Alberta might be trying to separate from Canada. They seem very mad.
They're not going to separate. You've been watching too much CTV as well.
No, that's not CTV. It's my Instagram feed and my Facebook of the realtors that I'm friends with in Alberta posting like they are furious.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing that was lost, that gets lost in, the cities running everything, is most of the country geographically thinks differently, just not population wise.
It's not population wise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting times. The GDP shrunk. That news came out a day too late. So it turns out the economy is not great. So that's gonna. I mean, they always do that though. Like they'll revise it, right? So next month or next time, also the GDP will be down. So technically, you'd have a recession. Except they'll go back and revise the one from 2 months ago, so it just went to zero. So we don't have a recession anymore. But I think we're going to get to. I mean, anecdotally, already, only a couple of days later. After the election, our business is picking up. Like
in what way? Buyers, sellers, offers. Like, why is it picking up?
We've started closing deals again, which is nice.
Oh, that's good. Congratulations.
I haven't done much of that this year.
Yeah.
We listings like crazy, but listings where sellers are realistic.
Okay.
As opposed to listings that we maybe took in January, of which might still be on the market, of where, if they're still on the market, that's a problem. So maybe some stuff is coming back. I getting appointments, definitely lots of listings. So heavy on the listing side, as I know you are. But buyers are coming out of the woodwork. We did 2 buy-ins. Well,
who were the not who were the names of the buyers, but like who were they? Were they first-time home buyers? Were they move-up buyers? Did they save their own down payment? Did they get it from mom and dad? Who were they?
One was couple going to be taking care of dad, so they're all moving into the same house. And then the other one was just a family looking for space, decided that the rent to buy numbers are making sense to buy. I
tried to make a video on that, and actually it was pretty it was like a 90% positive, but the 10% that were angry were very angry.
I'm looking at stuff right now, man, going like, I said to my wife the other day, I really wish I wanted to buy a 1-bedroom condo in a shitty neighborhood right now, because if I did, like, it is at 20% down. It's looking pretty good right now.
It's like, getting close. It's not cash flowing at 20, maybe 25, 30%.
So this units are gonna, let's say a 1-bedroom is gonna rent for $1,800 right now here, and it's selling for $400.
Okay, all right.
Like,
it's getting
not
closer
that
then.
bad, right?
No,
so 20% down.
4% interest rate, 25 or 30-year AM on that math.
I mean, I would always personally do a 30, just because.
So that brings it down a bit, yeah.
But yeah, I'm seeing options out there that make a lot of sense. So that is my question for you, Tom Storey. I wanted to talk about, so we have opportunity right now. We also have people that are getting destroyed. I think we talk about the people getting destroyed enough. We can maybe gloss over them. I think everybody's going to be able to guess exactly who they are. But I wanted to ask you, like, think granular. Like, I want you to think of like a particular situation of which you've seen multiple times with multiple people, and like this one. Let's go 3. But like this scenario makes a lot of sense right now. Maybe quickly we can rattle off. I think yours are probably the same as me. The condo investor is kind of screwed right now, right? The condo investor,
depending on when they bought, but yes.
I mean, they're screwed because the market's not being good to them. Rents are coming down. Payments are probably going up, and it's hard to sell them. So in that,
yes,
they're probably pretty screwed. Another one, obviously, the most obvious one is anybody that's completing on a pre-sale that they bought 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's the worst of it.
That's the worst. Those people are screwed. I identified one that I think is still really tough right now, and that is to go from our stratified townhouses that are large to our detached houses on the low end is actually pretty tough to do.
That's tough here too, because it's tough to sell that. It's tough to sell that property, and the property that you're moving up to has gone up more in value over the past 5 years than the one that you're trying to sell. So that it's made that property ladder kind of get stuck, or you're falling off the ladder halfway up the, someone put something slippery on the ladder and you can't get up anymore, right?
Let's say, what are we talking about?
They're falling off the ladder.
Oh, okay. I thought you said can't get it up anymore. The particular, like, we have like townhouse styles that are like, I want to say like 1,800 square feet. They're side by side garage. They got a rec room downstairs. They're 3 bedrooms up. Like, there are lots of living space for your family, but you know, you can raise a family of 4 or 5 there and everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But really, you're like, you want to get to the detached house. The jump to the detached house, depending on what you want to do, is going to add between $1,800 and $3,000 per month onto your payment. So that's like, I kind of put that in my loser category of like, that's really hard to do. But this is not a podcast for losers, Tom Storey. Let's come up with, because I think there's winners. I think there's absolute winners right now.
There's winners under certain circumstances. So
so let's drill it down. Tell me where the winners are.
I can tell you some win. If I look here at our recent firm transactions, first time home buyer, parent buying condo for kid, second time buyer. Actually, we had a condo investor that has a long-term perspective. We've sold 2 units to recently. Resale in really good buildings for what I think are low prices that will eventually look out. First time home buyer. So first category would be living at home or renting and has been renting for the last 3 to 5 years. Have a down payment between $50,000 and $100,000 saved, or gift you can get from your parents, because you need that to get in. Otherwise, this isn't a conversation. You need that. You have I am not moving for 5 years, and I do not expect any change in price in an upward direction for the next 2 years. Like, these are kind of like the boxes you have to check. And these are the conversations we're having with all the buyers before they go out there right now. And you are buying a 1-bedroom or a 1+ den with parking. That is an opportunity, because there are, as of recording this, 6,500 condo apartments for sale in the city of Toronto. So you can negotiate them down. You can go try on a few different units. You can get an A+ property for a C price. That's like the way I would look at it long term. Right now, it wouldn't seem like that, but long term. And it's getting to the point now in our business, like, I don't have to talk about this in videos. People are watching and they're reaching out to us saying like, all right, it's time. I'm doing it now. Interest rates are at 4%. I'm not being stress tested 8% like it was 2 years ago. I know the condo market might suck for a little bit longer, but here's the thing I think about too, and maybe I'm going a little bit off topic here, but we'll come back, I promise. All the new stuff, like, everyone's saying like, okay, Tom, you say by 2027, 2028, the condo market's going to get good again because nothing's being delivered. That's not even a theory. That's a fact. But over this year and next year, so much is being delivered that shouldn't prices basically crater before they come up again? And my whole thing is like, well, most of it becomes rental inventory. So I think rental prices will go down in the short term. But those 30,000 units coming to the GTA this year, most of them were purchased at $1,200 a square foot, some up to $1,600, depending on where they were. And even if they close and become existing inventory, even if they're selling at $1,200, $1,300 a square foot and they paid $1,600, they're still so much more expensive than everything else for sale. I'm wondering, does that really push down the other stuff, or does it just sit there like other overpriced inventory? And I don't know. So that's kind of how I look at it. So my number one category would be a 5-year hold minimum, have 50 grand saved, first time home buyer, maybe even taking advantage of the first home savings account, RSP, whatever you've been doing to save your money. There's an opportunity if you can see past the next 2 years of potential turbulence, because it's you're jumping on the plane here when it's still a little bit bumpy, but it's going to land, but it might be bumpy for a little bit longer.
Yeah, my thought is like in that almost identical, but in particular for us where we are in Surrey. So if you want to live in Surrey Centre, which personally I wouldn't, I don't even know if I want to necessarily invest there just because of times like this when the market gets so tough. But let's say, for instance, you're a young person, you're trying to get into your first place. and you're looking for a small, let's face it, they're going to be small. They're going to be 500 square foot one beds, proper one bed. I'm not talking, please don't buy junior one beds, people. So you're going to get that small unit near a train. And of course, yeah, you're not looking for a future potential, but like the purchase price in relation to also now your interest rate compared to where it was 2 years ago, like they were 5.25 at 6%. Now
what are they now?
4 at 4%. Or four. I guess we're back up closer to 4.5% right now in a lot of places. So like it makes a ton of sense. So that like now if you want to buy that same product in a nicer neighborhood where you're car dependent and out in the burbs where it's definitely going to be a nicer spot to live, that discount's not there anymore. It's still, you're probably up $100,000 still. Right. So there's just the opportunity to take advantage of how many units, like you said, are available. And then the thought there is your exit strategy out of that is either going to be keep it and move on, keep it as a rental for the future, which is always a good plan, or when the market picks up again, that's going to be your time to exit. Because right now, when there's 400 units in one building, 10% of them are on the market, and half of those are your same floor plan. You've got 20 places you're up against. It's not a good time to sell.
And here's how you look at the other side of it. Because if you are actively trying to sell a one-bedroom condo with no parking or a junior/bachelor unit with no parking in the city of Toronto between 400 and 550 square feet, for 95% of the cases, the only way you sell
for tenant, landlord, or homeowner insurance policies, go to squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show. Use the link in the description. Save $20 when you start your free quote right now.
The only way you sell is be the lowest price option. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can paint it. Yes, you can stage it. Yes, you can do some upgrades. All those things are great. There's thousands of options. The only way to stand out in the search, and that's where it's like, you know, when markets get tough, and I understand this too, because not everyone's in this day to day, but if you haven't had a showing for 2 weeks on a property and you're a seller, you might think like, well, what the heck is my realtor doing? Why am I getting what? So they're like, Steve, can you do another open house? What else can you do? Are you posting on Instagram? Steve, can you do a Netflix show on my property? Right? But at the end of the day, in this specific market, if you have that property type, and these are the conversations I'm having every single day now, is like, do not hire me because I can promise you a better price than somebody else. Hire me because I will save you time and energy where I'll get it where it needs. Like, it's almost weird for those type of units. Hire the realtor that gives you the lower realistic price. Unless you're willing to wait and you can hold it for a few more years, then by all means hold it, don't sell. But the one
hire the guy that, like, maybe you go to them right now and you say, listen, you should hire me because I'm the guy that has the balls to tell you
what's going on.
Worth, and everybody else glad handing you is going to cost you money.
Because you're going to sit on the market at a price that's not going to get it done. And then someone's going to undercut you, and then you're going to have to go. And not only have you wasted 30, 60 days of your life, but now you lost that buyer, and then you're just going to eventually sell for the same price. But I get it. Those are tough conversations because some people would look at that and go like, yeah, the realtor's just giving you a low price to get the sale done quickly. It's like, no, I'm telling you what it actually. So that's why I'm telling
you are doing that though. Don't lie.
That's a fair point. I am doing that, but not in a malicious way, in like a trying to help you way.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
But so that's why I'm giving you that side of the thing. Now flip it. Imagine you've been renting for the last 5 to 10 years and you've saved a down payment. The interest rates are way lower and the prices have come off from the peak, and you have 2,000 one-bedroom condos to consider to purchase. How are you going to run your search?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm trying to get not only like my team members, everybody, when we're evaluating stuff, I'm like, okay, you can do your search of what you think stuff sold for. You can look 6 months. There hasn't been a sale, so you look 6 months ago and you go, okay, well, the price should be here because prices have dropped this much. Or sometimes prices are even going up in those areas and we're not selling or whatever. And I'm like, no. Do it this way. Do your analysis this way. I have a buyer looking for this product.
Right.
So I go, I'm not looking in the building to see what's last sold in the building. I'm looking in, what do you guys call it? C1, C whatever.
Sure,
like
the zones.
I want to live in X area, and that X area is not as granular as we realtors think about it, or you living in your building think about it, because you're like, well, my building's better than the one next door. The buyer doesn't view it that way. The buyer goes, I want to live in the distillery district. So let's look at the entire distillery district and see what's there. And where do they start? At the highest priced one? Definitely not. They're going to look at that. Let's say, is that a thing? Is a distillery district a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so how many condos are in that? How many one-bed condos might be there right now?
Not as many as other areas, but for the sake of argument, let's say there's 100 for sale in distillery right now.
Okay, how many are we going to go look at with a buyer? 5? 5, and they're the lowest price ones, and then they're like, I like this one. Okay,
or they're the best price per square foot on a high floor with a view. Like, there's other factors too, but
sure,
yeah,
sure, but I mean,
like,
really,
we would look through that 100 and say to the buyer, like, which would be, rank these, and if these are 8s or 9s, tell me. And we'll go see those ones.
Buyers are going to be like, I need to be southwest facing on the 45th floor with a view. Not that many. Most are like, I need to get into the cheapest thing I can. This one's the same as that one, but it's 20 grand cheaper. I'll take it.
Maybe, but in this market, if you can get the great view.
Oh, yeah, if you can. But they're looking usually by price, right?
This is a market that great properties sell, and anything average or crappy doesn't sell. Like, when the market gets hot, it's like someone needs to actually tell people, like, hey, your property's not that great. Right now is a really good time to sell it. But it's kind of rude to tell people that. But you can see it. When the market turns, the crappy stuff stands no chance. The average stuff is tough. And like, we just sold a one-bed condo that was 567 square feet. It didn't have parking. It's in the zone of condos that are very difficult to sell. I think we priced it accordingly. We sold it in under 2 weeks, but it was immaculate. The seller was owner-occupied, living there for a long time, upgraded absolutely everything. I was actually thinking, I was like, should I buy this? Like, should I buy this one and just hang on to this for 10 years? Like, this would probably be a good buy, but everything else is still sitting in that building. Because we were the one that looked the best and was priced the best. So that's how you sell. So that's why there's opportunity on the other side.
This is what I have been saying with like these, we have charts right now with our pricing, and prices are going up, but I know prices aren't going up. No. I'm like, how is this possible? So what's happening is there's so much crap that is sitting on the market that nobody wants to buy, but people are still willing to pay the premium price for the premium product. The problem is so many sellers think they have the premium product when they have a piece of crap, and they go, I'm not going to worry about it. So actually, like, we're struggling against the numbers right now because the numbers are showing higher prices, but not for the crap that you're trying to sell. You got to be a 10 out of 10 right now.
That's actually a really good point. That I guess that would be, even if you, whether you use benchmark price, average price, median price, like, pick your poison. If only the best properties are selling, and those are the only sales happening in a slow market, then is that a true representation year over year of looking at a different market where, you get what I'm trying to say, right? Where, like, kind of the average stuff was still selling before at average prices, but now only the top end stuff, or maybe the absolute best priced option on either side.
Price. You can't look at just price. You got to start looking at everything. You got to look at sales volume. You got to look at months of inventory. Months of inventory to me is the biggest thing ever. Like, it is just it tells me which direction things are going. So that's number one. We've only got through one. Give me number two. I got a number two.
You want my number two first?
Yeah.
Okay. It's actually downsizers, and I'll tell you why.
From what to what, though? Downsizing from what to what? Let's go there.
From a single family detached home in an area, because those are still selling fairly well in Toronto, to a condo, to a large condo.
Do you have that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you have geezers or boomers or whatever we want to call them now, and they go, okay, I'm going to sell this detached house, and I'm okay to move down to an 800 square foot downtown.
Not 800 square feet. They're buying in older condo buildings between 12 and 1,200 square feet and 2,000 plus square feet. Because those still exist.
Okay.
And like we just listed a condo last week. It's 1,400 square feet in an older building, fully got renoed though. It's gorgeous, and that will sell.
We do a lot of those, but they go to small wood frame. They don't have anything to do with like the in-town stuff. They go to like the suburban condo. They don't go to the other side of it.
Yeah, I mean, like you could argue downsizers should wait till the market picks up because the lift on the house they own will go up higher than what they're going to. And I get all that, but you have a property type people want right now. And then you can choose really what you're going to buy next. So you can sell your house, get a super long closing, go out there, see a bunch of options. If you buy a condo that needs to be renovated, but it's a big floor plan, you got time to do that. So I think there is opportunity. I'm not talking about downsizer like 90 years old, moving out of their house in between, retirement home. I'm talking about like, they could even be people in their 50s, right? Yeah. 40s, yeah. Late 40s, 50s. That's what this could mean as well. So I do think there's an opportunity there, but it's more specific maybe than the first option that we gave.
I'm going to downsize by 60. But 60 is the right age. The happiest people I know in their older years, well, the happiest people are the ones that never had kids because they're just sitting there drinking cocktails all day, which I think is awesome. I meet them often.
You think they're happy? Or they just...
They sure really look happy. Hey, honey, want another rum and Coke at 11 a.m.? We're 85. We made it this far. Might as well. No, but the happiest folks are the ones that I find that don't hold on to their properties too long and they downsize before retirement, maybe empty nest and then downsize before retirement and then like really get on. That involves kicking your kids out of the house, which a lot of people don't do anymore. Those people are happy. I want to go. So my number two, I was really looking at this and it's a lot of people actually reaching out right now. And I was like, why are so many people reaching out?
Try to.
Here we go. English is good. They're reaching out and they all have the same wants. Now, many of them are not doing anything. Some of them are. But that is, so you get like a 2-bedroom townhouse. Mm-hmm. So for us, that's often garage under, living on the main floor, 1 floor up, and then 2 bedrooms, 2 baths on the top floor. And then those people that the dream is to get to a detached, but they can't do it. The move to one of those large 3-bed townhouses that I was talking about earlier is actually as small as gap as I've seen in a long time.
Oh, interesting.
So you can go from like 1,200 square feet to 1,900 square feet with like side-by-side garage, rec room for the kids, a place where you could actually maybe have a family and kids can have a rec room, or you could have a home office or do whatever you want to do. And those folks right now are going, wait, I can sell mine for $720, $730, $740, and I can buy that other one for $850 to $900. I'm only increasing my payments by, I don't know, less than $1,000 a month. Let's say it's $500 to $700 a month. I'll do that. And so like those people right now have such an amazing opportunity because the 2 beds have not come down that much and the 3 beds have. The 3 beds have come down a ton since the peak anyway.
We've got a similar situation where it would more be like if you've got a semi-detached home in Toronto in one of the core single-family good school district neighborhoods, Leslieville, Beaches, East York, Danforth, Roncy, Junction, Hyde Park, North Toronto. I could go through all of them. One of those like core real city neighborhoods. If your goal is to get to a detached, this is something I've been looking at for myself this year, is like the semis are the hottest property types in these areas. Not necessarily that means they're going to go up in value this year, but they are what people want because they fall into a price point that more people can afford. So since you bought your semi, your income's gone up, you have additional savings, if you fall into that category, you can sell your semi in today's market and you'll have lots of traction on it, and then go buy a detached house, which yes, is a higher price. And yes, you might need a little bit more mortgage and it might increase the cost of your living, but it's less busy up there because the price point's a little bit higher. So if your goal was always to get it, it's like, well, you should probably try to make that up move in a sideways or slow market versus trying to make that jump up when things heat up again, whenever that ends up happening. So I think that's like pretty similar moves that you could make in either of our markets.
So is that your number 3 or is that your number, or is that just going off of mine?
I guess I'm just agreeing with yours. My number, if you want my actual number 3,
okay. Is this 3, 2, or 1? Are we doing this forwards or back? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Last one. Let's call it the last one.
Number 3.
Brought to you by the Story Team.
And Realty Ninja. For me, it would be condo assignment buyers.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think there are. So I'll tell you why. I think it's finally got to a point that the shit is getting real, Steve. Closings are coming up and people have to sell. They have to sell. They cannot close. They do not want to get sued by the developer. We've seen all those stories going on out there. They have to sell. And so if you are someone that wants something brand new but don't have to wait 5 years, and you're buying it at a price today that's maybe like you're getting stuff that they paid $1,300 a square foot for $1,000 a square foot. The developer cannot even rebuild it for that cost. You're buying it under replacement cost. The only thing I would warn is, first of all, these properties on MLS, you need to talk to a realtor that knows how to find you these assignment opportunities. And the other thing would be like, if you're getting it so much lower than the initial buyer paid for it, the only way you can close in some of those cases, actually, if the initial buyer has extra cash to kick in so you can close at the new price. Does that make sense? Because the delta is so big. So don't just, there's different ways to look at this. You got to make sure who you're buying from can actually help you close in a weird way if you're buying it so much lower than they paid for it. If you're a real estate agent in Ontario, you're well aware of what TRESA is and the new RICO information guide. And explaining that guide to your clients is of absolute importance and is mandatory. Now, we've been using an additional resource that we got from TRESAvideo.ca. It's been really helping our team have that conversation with potential buyers and potential sellers from the very beginning. Check out TRESAvideo.ca to learn more. So I think there is an opportunity there, but it's number 3 because it's a bit of a niche thing. That's a specific kind of educated, a long-term investor driven client that knows what's going on. That's not your average. I wouldn't recommend this to everybody. That's a certain portion of the potential buyers out there.
Well, I was looking at some pre-con stuff or I guess I don't know if it was held back stock. I think we talked about this before. I don't know if it was held back stock or people that walked away from deals, but the developer was letting them go. Now, sure, there was GST on top, so I'm only talking about the sale price, not the GST included. Developer was letting them go at or slightly below 10-year-old product.
Crazy.
Resale, 10-year-old product.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at, now obviously that guy's dumping. So he's either sitting on somebody else's 20% already, so he doesn't care, or they just want to be done with the project and get out. But I was sitting there going, if I was looking right now and I saw that information, I could take a client to those sales centers. Some of them don't even have some of them, the sales centers are closed. But you got to go to the developer and be like, hey, you really want out? Let's see what you got, man.
You should crowdsource. You should get a whole bunch of people to come with you one day. And this many units left. We'll collectively buy them with this group of investors, but we need this price per square foot.
Be interesting.
Very
interesting.
Steve, developers want to move on.
Yeah,
the last thing they want to do is kick around with these units they can't sell. They want to get out of there and move on to the next project. They have no interest in holding this inventory forever. They want to move on.
Speaking of moving on, let me do my last one.
Okay.
Drum roll, please. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Anyone that is renewing their mortgage this year, winning. Absolutely winning. And I'll tell you why. Because I am one of them and I'm a winner. No, I just redid my mortgage and my new payment came out. Actually, well, it's May 1st recording this. My new payment came out today. My payment went up $40.
What? Wait. Hold on. Let's give me the math on this, because when you got that mortgage, was this for your house or your investment?
Sorry, maybe it's a little bit more than that. Is it every couple of weeks? No.
Is this primary resident?
It's barely anything.
What mortgage is this?
Sorry. No, sorry. I did not say that right. $140.
There you go.
Okay, $140 though.
Yeah, but you have a small mortgage on your house.
Did I say $40 the first time?
You said 40.
$140. That's it.
Okay, that's it. But here's the actual thing. Percentage-wise, that's the number we care about, because you got a small mortgage on your house and it's almost paid off. So, of course, that doesn't sound like a big number. percentage wise, how much did it go up? That would be a more true to the average person watching this. Well, okay, what rate did you go from to now? Like, what was your rate before and what is it now?
275.
Okay.
And I went to 409. So my payment was like, I don't know, I want to say 1386, and it's like just over 1500 now.
Okay, but again, you have a small mortgage.
It's nothing. No, yeah, I'm talking about the payment, but here's the thing. So I get there's a bunch of people doing 3 years, and there was a bunch of craziness, but most of the people pre-pandemic were getting 5 years, safe to say. And in the year leading up to the pandemic, it was pretty high rates. There was a lot of 389s, and prices were coming down.
True.
There's a lot of people that are just renewing now from a 389 into a 409. They're laughing. But you know why else they're laughing? Why I'm personally laughing? Because I thought I was going to renew at a 6.3.
You're ready for it mentally.
I'm at a 409. I was like, oh crap, I'm going to get smashed. Here we go. It's going to be many hundreds of dollars per month more. And I understand I got a small mortgage, all that stuff. But if you zoom out and look at the perspective of where we were before, and everybody lost, like before we started this show, before we started our YouTube channels, all before the pandemic, when nobody was actually talking about real estate, those rates were a lot higher than people remember. So the fact of where they are now, I think everybody's winning. Like I was just, when I was with John down in Mexico, talking to him, and he's like, dude, we're still at over 7% for our mortgages.
In the States.
In the States. I told him, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to renew for 5 or 425 or 409. And
he's like,
just
shut up.
Like, shut your mouth. He's like, buy as much as you can. He's like, if anything's under 5% in the States, we buy as much as we can.
Well, let me give you some real life math here. And this is just for the Toronto market, and this is the entire market. So you can do this by different property types or area. But in April of 2024, so basically a year ago, the average sale price in the city of Toronto was $1.1 million. And at that period of time, the interest rates were in the 5.5 to 5.6% range. Like we don't realize even how much they've come down since then. So if you did the math on that with a 20% down payment, effectively, if you bought for $1.1 million with a 5.6% interest rate last year, your payments would be $54.65. Fast forward a year to the most recent numbers that we had, with the average sale price only coming down like 20 or 30 grand. It hasn't really changed that much. But if you put if you slot a 4% interest rate in there, your payment is now $4,600. So $800 to $900 cheaper on a monthly basis, let alone the less interest you're paying with the lower starting rate. That's where we're at. And now you look at that number and you compare it back to other years. It would be interesting to go and put like peak pricing at a 2% interest rate and see where it would have been for their first 5 years of that mortgage, to see like, have we really changed on the cost of ownership here? But year over year, with today's rates where we're at, if you went from a 5.5 to a 4%, with basically the same sale price, but some prices have dropped in certain areas, you're down almost $1,000 a month. So I think those are the things that people need to be aware of.
Things are coming back to reality, and I wish that made the news cycle.
It's not,
because I don't think it's going to be here that long. I really don't think it's going to be here that long. I think we're going to end up with a lot more issues. I think they're slowly going to take out the foreign buyer thing, at least on pre-sales.
And then they're coming for your primary residence, Steve.
Oh, don't you? Hey, man, they're coming after. I don't know if I sent this to Cody, but I don't know if people are aware that right before government let out, whatever it was, November or whatever, the NDP Liberal Coalition put together a bill, or whatever you want to call it, in the House of Commons to remove charitable status from religious organizations, which is insane to me. Absolutely. So they're going, oh crap, what do we do? And by the way, a bunch of charities were involved in there. So they may start taxing charity now. Because why? Because you need to give the charity to the government instead of to the people that need it. So I don't know. They're coming after the principal residence thing. I think it's only a matter of time. Might be a blessing though, because then you get to write off your mortgage.
Well, they better allow that if they're coming after your gains, and it better start. I mean, I hope this never ever happens, but if it starts, it has to start from a period of time. There's no like backtracking to say you've owned it for 20 years, and now if you sell, like that would just be insanity. To wrap this up, I actually I thought you'd be interested in this. I said, aside from real estate, where is the largest portion of your net worth currently held? And I gave people 4 options. It was stocks, ETFs, crypto. I put your business as an option, like the value of your business and the cash that you have in your business. I thought that was a reasonable option. And then savings and cash. And other than real estate, basically 63% of people, the only place they invest their money is the stock market, which kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least the largest portion of their savings is in the stock market versus real estate. Bitcoin and crypto, although there's a lot of noise about it, was only 5% of the vote. And their business was 10%, which is interesting. I would have thought there'd be more entrepreneurs in our audience that would have a lot of their net worth built up into their business. But I guess at least
is your business worth anything is the real question.
That's a good point. Can
you sell your business? Is it worth anything? And am I reinvesting my money in there? Or is it like just the cash that I have in my checking account in my business?
I would put both those together. And then the fourth category was, savings, cash under the mattress, wherever you're putting your money these days, Steve, was 23%. So there's still some people that have it sit in cash. It's not even in like, I guess, the high interest savings these days sucks because the overnight rates come down so much anyways that you're not getting much, right? The days of the GICs at 5% are gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening.
It's probably actually a pretty healthy single portfolio.
Right. If you're just looking at that.
If you were like, I got 60% in stocks, I got 25% in Bitcoin, in savings, I got 10% invested in my business or still sitting in my business, and then 5% crypto. Perfect.
I got one more question to wrap this up.
Advice. Yeah.
Because I had a situation recently. I have a seller that lives in their house, and every time a showing is booked, it's a thing. They got to get out. They got to whatever. And if someone booked a showing on one of your listings, okay, and they booked it, they showed up to the house, and for whatever reason, when they got there, the buyers decided, actually, now that I've seen the neighborhood or the outside of the house, I don't want to go inside. Let's just go see the next house for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
You think the realtor should cancel the showing, or does it count that they drove there and parked in the front for 2 minutes and then left?
Okay. Is this a house?
Yes.
If it was me, I mean, so this is like last second. And
yeah, like they got there at their showing time.
So they got there.
Did not enter the house.
The house is on lockbox. They're going to enter that way.
Correct.
The seller's already vacated.
Yep.
What I would personally do is I would say, okay, Mr., Mrs. Client, whatever, you don't like the curb appeal or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I appreciate that. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to run inside the house. I'm going to go leave my card there so they know I was here. I'm going to turn out the lights. And then I'm probably going to message the realtor after and say, hey, sorry, my guys didn't like it. They didn't really even want to go in. That's probably what I would do. But the problem you're saying we have often, I could even probably stereotype the realtor that was doing it.
Right.
Why?
It's actually in my circumstance, it's a really good realtor that I know I've worked with before. And what I assume happened, because I don't actually think it's their fault. It's probably like the buyer last time was like, okay, never mind, let's go this. And like you're flustered and you're like, all right, let's go see the next house. Where you're like, okay, I was here, I didn't go inside. And half the homes have front door ring doorbells that the seller can see who's walking up to see the property. And they're like, nobody came. So I called them and I was like, hey, did you go? Because this isn't like a realtor that would mess around. It's a good realtor.
No, you have to prep your clients these days because we have people that are late, that are no shows, that are cancel. The cancel within 2 minutes of the showing, I get quite a bit.
Oh, my buyer so frustrating.
You couldn't figure out your buyer had other plans more than 4 minutes. So this means the realtor probably drove to the property and then the client canceled on them with 2 seconds to go.
Well, that's the thing. Half of the time, or even maybe more than half the time, it's not actually the realtor It's the client last minute doing it to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
in my market, a lot of realtors book showings before they've checked if their client's available.
That's silly.
So we get like, whenever we get a showing request, if it's for tomorrow, I tell my assistant here when she's setting up the showings, because we set up the showings ourselves, we have to. I'm just like, whenever a showing request comes in, if it's not same day, just give it 45 minutes before you ask the seller, because otherwise, like 40% of them are like, sorry, client's busy, cancel.
See, we auto confirm most showings in a certain period of time just to make it easier for everybody. Are you getting agent inspections? We'll wrap this up, but I'm just curious about this. So basically, they don't have a client, or they could have a client, but the agent's going to go in by themselves first to see the property, or they're the neighborhood specialist, so they need to see every home for sale. Is that a thing in your market?
No, I'm having more people ask if they can advertise my stuff, and
that's different though. That's different.
Yeah. I've even had some. I've heard some stories of where there are people booking showings, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got a client, but they're not available, so maybe I'll do a video tour walkthrough." And we're like, "Okay," but I've heard some horror stories of they're actually not doing that, and what they're doing is they're going doing TikToks and stuff in the house and trying to hype it up as if that's like their marketing. So somebody else is listing and they're hyping it up like, "Look at this property," which is like, you know what? If I get a listing that's sitting on the market for 30 days, you want to come
do it.
Just tell me, hey, can I do a TikTok? Yeah, I'm going to get you to expose that thing however you want. If you bring a buyer, fantastic. But don't sneak in the other room or sneak little video shots and then clip it together when you leave to go do your TikTok.
It's just like half the showings on, this isn't really a condo thing, it's a house thing in Toronto. Half the showings are agent inspections where they're just going to see it, which I get it. You're trying to have your market knowledge and see what's for sale. But when the seller has to step out every time and it's the first time they've sold a property in a long time, it's just like, I don't know.
That's what realtor tours are for.
No, it's what it used to be for. All right, that is it. Happy Star Wars Day. Other happy things, I'm sure, are out there. We got a new government.
Emperor Carney.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.